Hello everybody, it's Duckfeeding07 and again we are playing a domain zoo, but not a traditional zoo, definitely. This is far from it. And I'm very excited for this brew. Okay, so we will have to explain, see careful what is happening in here, explain card choices. So we have many new cards here. There are 8 invasions: Invasions of Pergamon and Invasion of Amonkhet. Let's see what this do. So Invasion of Pergamon says when it enters the battlefield, you can discard a card to draw a card, and it also creates a treasure token. So it basically costs you 1 mana, which is great. And where you have so many 2-drops, like Sound of Draco is 2-drop too, so you can often just play this on turn 3 plus another 2-drop. So it works very neat with the mana curve. Okay, so and helps a bit with the mana curve too. So let's see what else is going on here. So this enters the battlefield and it has like 5 life, and you have to attack it for 5 damage or tribal flames it to in order to flip it. So the thing when you flip this, it's basically a demonic does the demonic tutor thing. It searches your library for a land or a battle card. So it can mana fix you under the blood moon, often like finding the forest or finding the missing land to get your full domain. And you can also find the battle card. So we have 4 of these, 4 of Invasion of Amonkhet and 1 Invasion of Alara on the sideboard, in which we can bring in grindy games. And since this card works as a very neat tutor. Okay, so Invasion of Amonkhet, let's see what this one does. So when it enters the battlefield, each player mills 3 cards, and each opponent discards a card and you draw a card. So you get 7 cards into the graveyard, which I think is amazing enabler for the Tarmogoyf in this type of decks where you don't really have a lot of ways to support it, but once you play Tarmogoyf on turn 2, play Amonkhet on turn 3, it will immediately be large, and I think this 2 cards go well good together, and because Amonkhet enables the Tarmogoyf, and then Tarmogoyf immediately enables the Amonkhet on the same turn, which is often just works great, and I really love this interaction. Okay, so and you will see me playing other decks, playing this combination of Tarmogoyf and Amonkhet. Okay, so let's see what this one does. Okay, when it flips, it enters the battlefield as a copy of any creature card in the graveyard, except it's a 4/4 black zombie. Okay, so that's why we have Archons of Cruelty in our deck. It's great. It has very good interaction with Invasion of Amonkhet, where basically Invasion of Amonkhet serves as another persist for to bring back Archon into play, not really bring it back, but copy it from the graveyard. So we have 4 persist in this deck, which does the same purpose as Amonkhet. 4 Invasions of Amonkhet, which we can often immediately flip on the turn we cast it. There is also a Fury as another great target for to bring back with Amonkhet. Okay, so I saw there was a Discord user named Zenman, and he trophied with a list using Grief, some Undying spells, and I think Invasion of Asgul. And I saw his list and I really liked it, and inspired by that one, I made this list. So I decided to up. He played only 20 lands, which I think was pretty low. So I upped the land count to 22, made a completely new mana base, which works very well so far. I'm very happy with it. It looks very clean and performs really well. The mana base he used, I think it wasn't ideal, and I think uh, I think uh, I think I got it optimized in this list. I think it works very well. Okay, so I also decided to add Leyline bindings as I feel like the list he trophied with lacked removals. He had on basically just Tribal Flames and Fury as his only removals, and I just don't feel that is enough in today's metagame. So I bring in Leyland Bindings, and I bring in Tarmogoyfs in the main, and cut the Undying spells, cut the Invasion of Ghoul, cut the Grief, cut all this stuff, and I'm really happy with how this exact list work. We have a four Son of Jacob, four Territorial Kabu, two Tarmogoyfs as our very powerful turn two creatures, which then all of them can immediately enable this invasion of Amonkhet when played on turn three. If of course if opponent decides not to jump or kills the creature, of course. So when playing first, the it's just very often and very consistent that you get this going. Like it's not that common that your opponent will always have a removal for turn two Scion or turn two Kabu or Goif, whatever. So it works out very well in practice. And if you don't kill it with a creature, there is a Tribal Flames in this deck. For Tribal Flames, I think Tribal Flames is one of the best enablers for this saga, for this sorry battle cards currently in the modern. Of course, there is also Vampire Hexmage is another great one, and but this Tribal Flames has just a versatility in this kind of aggressive zoo shells that it can also go face with a 5 damage. It can be game ending play often, and it can also just flip Saga, and you have to choose between the two options often, and you'll have to choose good. So also the sideboard I saw used just didn't have any all have like zero Blood Moon solutions post board. So I decided to play 4 Tira Sunder as we are completely depending on our one forest to get rid of the Blood Moon, but we have a lot of green fetches to get it. So 4 Tira Sunders and 2 Force of Figures on the sideboard as additional artifact enchantment hate. There is some combo hate, like there's Unmoored Ego, but also we have 3 Stubborn Denials. This is not a Cascade deck, so it's just a Reanimator deck with Zoo Reanimator deck, if you want to call it like that. Like I call it Zoo Reanimator, and you are able to use the Stubborn Denials on the sideboard because we have 10 creatures we can play on turn 2, which enable Stubborn Denial really well. And of course, there are Leyline of the Voids as I think best graveyard hate solution for this type of lists where I need to use my graveyard, and it's also great hate against a scam and a lot of these graveyard depending strategies. Also, I mentioned before one invasion of Alara on the sideboard, which we can bring in this grindy games, and that is it. Basically, all we need for today's to fight all the decks in today's modern meta game, which are we not already very good with our main board. So that is it. And I think like this deck has a crazy potential, and it feels really powerful. I think this can easily become very powerful deck in modern. And but there are many decks in modern that are very good, perform really well, but just people don't realize its real power, real potential. Like for a long time, Rakdos Chem existed, but was like tier 3 deck, and a lot of other similar examples like that one. For example, the Breach decks, and maybe the Hardened Scales will also now get a huge boost in the power level with this new card. And a lot of decks have that kind of feeling, and I feel like this could be one of those decks that maybe won't be played that much because people will be definitely skeptic of this working, but it just feels so very powerful, and it can just win games for free, which is like the um, always characteristic of the Archon decks, and you can just get Archon on the field or the copy of Archon on the field very consistently. And even if you don't do that, there are plenty of other very powerful plays, and this deck just attacks opponent from so many angles. It's definitely not easy to hate it. If you try with Graveyard Hate, you can just get overwhelmed by Kavu or and sometimes you play creatures in your deck that you don't want me to copy with my Amulet, Like for example, for color Omnat piles, play the Elish, and I can easily mill opponent's Elish and then copy it within Amonkhet, which then can end the game. And there are just so many examples like that one. That really gets you the free games and free wins, sorry, and that is it. So now we will go through the gameplay. Just see immediately in the first try I got the 4-1 4-1 with this deck, and my only loss was in game 1. This was the loss, but I will first go through the wins. My only loss was in match 1, where I just for game 3 I kept a very sketchy hand. Okay, so basically, we are relying on Kavu in this game to put Archon into the graveyard, and since Kavu is not that easy to kill on turn 2, really there's a huge chance to actually do this. So I just find my Savage Triumph, I go for the Breeding Pool on 2, play my Kavu, and just hope for it to survive. If not, I have other enablers like Invasion of Fergamon, puts creatures into the graveyard, and here is the opponent with the 2020 creature on turn 2, but luckily I am playing Leyland Binding in my deck, so I just use 3 mana to exile this card and put myself in the much better position. Of course, they can always top deck the Bushwhacker, but I have my opponent doesn't know that I have Archon for the next turn, which will get me to the safe zone. So I reanimate my Archon on turn 2, gain 3 life, hold the Leyland Binding. Again, opponent goes for the redraws and finds another Imperiosaur, which was a great top deck for them. I have unfortunately for my opponent they were playing against Leyland Binding deck. Otherwise, this would be easy win for them. But Leyland Binding is such a powerful card, and so I decide to attack with both, gain some life. Opponent jumps. I put myself into the safe zone, and my opponent leaves 5 creatures on the field in case they top deck the Bushwhacker, but they don't, and that is the game 1. Okay, let's see the game 2. I think this is a very favorable matchup for me. As you saw, I already have uh, a Leyland Binding, the solution for their 0 mana 2020 guy. And I also play 4 Furies. I also play Invasion of Amonkhet and Persist in my deck, and they're making a lot of tokens, so 1 Fury is often enough to deal with this situation. So opponent goes for the Chatterstorm on turn 2, make 5 creatures, so not enough to cast the Imperiosaur immediately. I use this situation to, let's say, scam Fury, but with Persist, not with the Undying spell. But it does the same job in this match, get rid of all of my opponent's board, basically. Putting them in a really low position, and you can see just how well this invasion of Ergamon can play out on the curve. So next turn, I'm able to flip it if needed. But I got with turn 2 Fury, Scam was too good against my opponent's deck, and they concede. So that was the first win of this league. Okay, so we can go see the next match. So in the match 2, started second. I have turn 1 Savai and turn 2 Forest into multiple spells, so I decide to keep. Also have a turn 2 Kavu into potential turn 3 Invasion to maybe try to immediately flip it. I of course play my Kavu and pass the turn. So let's see what the opponent does. They go for Teferi. Teferi's problem with the battles. I think also this invasion plays really well on the curve, so anyway, I would only be able to play one spell in this type of deck on turn 3, and the invasion often just gets me a redraw, put bad card into the graveyard I don't need, and with 3 lands I still get to double spell each turn, so I play my another Kavu, and I They have the removal, so I just pass the turn. They also have Leyline Binding for other cows, so pretty good position for my opponent. They also play Omnat Fetch on their turn, tick cow up to 3, and play the Risen Reef, so I'm left in a pretty bad situation, and I decide to concede this game. Okay, so let's see how this worked out in the games 2 and 3. I think in one of the games I had a small misplay, which almost costed me the game, but we'll see it. Okay, so I go play first, it's much easier, definitely. I have a turn 2 cow. Okay, so let's see, I'm on the play. Let's see what I boarded in. In this match, I boarded in 2 tier Sanders. I boarded them in for the 2 Leyland Bindings. Leyland Bindings are not actually that great in this matchup. So I boarded in 2 Starboard Denials. I got 1 Flames out and 1 Persist. Also got 1 Archon out. And that was it. So my cow died, so I played my Tarmogoyf. They went for the binding, but I decided to this was a misplay. Didn't really need to play this, so it was definitely bad play. So my opponent was now able to play the prismatic ending too. Should have just played the Leyline Binding end of turn. I don't know, like I brain farted, like thought that my opponent already played the land or something. So definitely bad play. If I didn't do that, I would be able to attack this invasion immediately and end the turn. End the game basically immediately by copying the Archon. So it was a pretty bad mistake, but still I had a decent hand here. 2 Furies, Tear Asunder to get rid of the Vren. They had another one, but yeah, nothing is lost here. I have plenty of chances uh, to win this still. So I played my Invasion of Ergamon. I get the treasure token so I can play the Fury next turn, and also put my Scion on the field so I can attack the Teferi. So I definitely need to kill the Teferi um, before attacking the invasion, because if Teferi is in the field, I can't play them. So I go for the Fury here, kill Teferi, attack the Amonkhet, and my opponent decides to concede. That is it. Okay, so let's see the match 3. I would get the Archon, and my opponent would have to sack probably another Planeswalker or the Omnat on it, and they decided that's too much for them. Okay, so in game 2, let's see how I boarded now. Okay, so I boarded in 3 tier Sanders this time, and on the draw left out all the Leyland Bindings, because Leyland Bindings can be pretty bad in this matchup. And also I had the 3rd tier Sander in, and still 1 Archon, 1 Persist, and 1 Flames are out. Okay, so that was my strategy for this game 3, where I'm on the draw. So I loot with Kavu, loot with my Ergamon, still didn't get the 3rd land, but it is fine. My opponent is also stuck on 2 lands, same as me, but my deck plays much better on 2 lands than my opponent's deck. So they pass the turn. I find my 3rd swords. It is tapped, but I have the treasure, so I'm able to play both Ragavan and hold the treasure, which was perfect for my stubborn denial. My opponent then tries to play the Teferi. He also gets the 3rd land, but I have the stubborn denial, and they concede. So that was the game. Okay, so let's go. Let's watch the match 3. Okay, in the match 3, again I was playing second and had to mulligan. And we had really bad mulligans, so I was forced to go to 4 cards, keep the Sign of Jaco and Leyland Binding with 2 lands. Okay, opponent went for the cookbook here, so they went for this was the Reanimator, Goryo's Reanimator with the Miracle. I played against this deck a lot lately, and often what happens in this matchup is that they go for the Emrakul. I sack everything I have. They leave me on 2, 3, 4 life, whatever, and they just can't finish the game. That happens just so often, and I think it happened again, but somehow they were able to finish the game. Okay, so they went for the construct here and play their Earth Saga, make another food token. They probably found the devil with the cookbook, but my opponent fails here with attack with their construct. So this meant I was able to kill their second construct, preventing them from blocking next turn and trying to top deck the burn spell. I had two redraws here, so I find the flames. I also find the second flames, and yeah, just play my flames and finish the game. Okay, so that was this game. My opponent didn't have the Goriel thing, so they tried to win with the constructs, but the attack wasn't so good. So still, I would have two flames on top, so I would probably win anyway. But yeah, bad decision. Okay, so let's see. Let's go to the game two. Sorry. Okay, this was game two. Of the match three, I have two lands. They provide me with full domain, so I keep the stubborn denial, a force of vigor, and one awkward Archon of Cruelty in hand without ways to get rid of him for the moment, but it is fine. So they decide to get rid of the stubborn denial. I just go for my Scion here, hoping they don't have it immediately, but they did have it. Also, I just needed green cards to be able to kill the Saga on the upkeep, preventing them from getting the cookbook this turn. So they went for the Miracle attack, leaving me on 2 life. And yeah, now they run into the problem of not being able to finish. So I play my Force, destroy the Urza Saga and the cookbook, and I was able to play my Kavu next turn, which can possibly get me out of this situation, but my opponent has the removal for it. So I play my Goif, and Goif is a 4-turn clock here, so my opponent has to find a solution on time. Unfortunately, I don't have my Savai Charm. If I had my Savai Charm, I would be able to play my Scion here. So I just go for the attacks here. I go for the attacks here. My opponent finds the bone shards to discard the miracle, give it haste, and finish the game. So they had exactly 0 cards left in hand. Okay, so let's go to the game 3 of this match 3. Okay. So in the match 3, playing first with a great hand like this, it's definitely much easier. So I have the stubborn denial, I have the force of figure, I have the tears asunder. So I'm covered with all their possible starts. If they go with Cookbook Saga, I have solution. If they go if they have the Gorilla, I still have the stubborn denial. I decide to use the stubborn denial here on 2. But in retrospective, it would be better if I just used my force on this cookbook and just leave my stubborn denial in hand for the next turns, so I'm able to actually use it on Gorios. But it was still okay decision. I played my Kavu, which was unfortunately just 3-4 in this game. And my opponent went turn 2 Profane Tutor, shocking themselves for 2. Which works well for me. So now I had Scion plus Binding plus Tear Asunder plus Force of Vigor, which is great, but just not that great in case they have the thing in their hand like Emrakul Gorio, just finding the third piece they need, so, like a discard outlet or whatever. Um, so I have to let them resolve the Profane Tutor here. They play the Urza Saga, but yeah, in the Leyline Binding, in Layla Binding era, just Emrakul is not that powerful anymore, so they just base their deck around killing me with Emrakul when I have like 1 mana flash spell that deals with it so easily. So I just Leyland binding their Emrakul and finish the game. So I play my, I don't need this force of figure, so I go to discard draw, find just a land, attack with Scion for 4, put them on 2, they are just on 1 card in hand, need to find a solution, but they don't find it, and I just finish the job on my turn and win this match too. Okay, so let's see the game 3. Sorry, this was the game 3, right? Yeah, this was the game 3. Sorry, this let's see the match 4. Okay, so this was the final win in this league. Okay, so I'm pretty satisfied always to play Amonkhet Goif turn 2 into Amonkhet turn 3. I think this works very well. Like Amonkhet is supporting Goif, and the Goif then immediately enables the Amonkhet. And if you can get the good target in the graveyard immediately, if you can get good target in the graveyard immediately, you're able to immediately do the thing. And I was playing against Dredge, which is usually a bad matchup for this kind of fair decks. But this deck is, I think, definitely not fair, and it can do very, very powerful things. So I go for the invasion here. I had the option to immediately flip it, but I didn't want to do it. My opponent had the Ox of Agonas into the graveyard, which I wanted to copy, but first I wanted to play out my entire hand. So I just let them block my Tarmogoyf this turn and let them do the thing. All of these guys are coming in tapped, so my plan was just to kill the Ox with the Fury, play my Scion, play the Leyland Binding, and then flip the invasion into Ox and draw 3 new cards. So I think that was a good plan, and my opponent already milled more than half of their deck and had just 22 cards into the graveyard. So I find another binding, which was great. I play my entire hand, flip invasion with Yamuna, get the Ox, get 3 fresh cards into the hand, and get rid of the most of my opponent's stuff. So they play another Ox, and at this point they have just 4 cards in their deck, and their board state is not enough to win. I also have my Ox also is black when you copy it, so this means when you have Scion on the field, every creature you copy enters the battlefield black and has like lifelink, which is especially good if you have Scion and copy Fury, and Fury enters the battlefield as a black creature and it deals damage to opponent's creatures, and you immediately gain life because Fury has a lifelink, which is very cool. Okay, so let's go to the game 2. So I was in this game, I think it was pretty incredible to win this because I just let the Dredge mill their entire deck, play everything they have, and still win, which is like incredibly rare, and like it means that definitely this is not a fair deck if you're able to do this. So let's now watch the game 2 against Dredge. In the game 2, in this match 4, I was able to keep a pretty fair hand, nothing, no hate, nothing, but hand was just very, very good, and 1 or 2 decent draws on from the top just have a potential to make it very good. So I decided to keep it, and I immediately get the stubborn denial from the top, and I decide not to play Kabu this turn, but hold the denial instead. My opponent fetches, of course, and I think it was kind of obvious that I'm holding the denial, but maybe they just wanted to discard that this Golgari tag, put it into the graveyard, start doing the thing. So again, on turn 3, I'm able to go for the Ergamon plus Kavu, which just feels so well often. So I went for the attacks here, and just exile the Stink with him from the graveyard, attack the invasion, flip the Truga, did the ability, discard the draw card, find the forest to be able to play both spells, and I get the Leyline from the top. So I exile the stuff that mattered from their graveyard with this attack, and with the Leyline on the void, it was over. For my opponent, I had the Scion to give all my team trample to finish the game immediately, and that was win against Dredge. Okay, so let's now watch the only loss in this league in the match 1 or the match 5, whatever you want. In this last match, I played against Harden Scales. I think I have just before this league. Before this league, I had two Brotherhoods End in my sideboard, but I decided to switch those. And if I had a Brotherhood's End in the sideboard, which I keep specifically because I expect like Hardened Scales and Hammer Time to be popular currently, I would probably be able to win this match overall. But I still think this is pretty decent matchup. I have the Leyline bindings, I have the Fury, I have the ability to scam Fury, have the ability to put Archon of Cruelty early. So a lot of stuff going on here. And I was able to play my Invasion of Ergamon and kill the Patchwork. And the next turn, I went for the Fury Persist, so I kill the Hangerback before it gets too large. But my opponent finds the Ballista, and at this moment they had 0 cards in hand. And I was able to play both of my cards, attack the Invasion, so I can maybe flip it next turn. But my opponent finds good cards from the top of their deck to let them pump the Ballista immediately next turn, and so it was steerings into Zabas into Ozolite from the Saga, which meant it is exactly lethal, and that was the game 1 against the Scales. So let's see the game 2. I still have a lot of heat. I have 2 Force of Figures, 4 Tier Sanders on the sideboard. I kept this hand because I had the Fury Persist plus the Leyline Binding. Obviously very strong. Also there is like Invasion of Amonkhet, which is another Persist. So I can basically play the Amonkhet, copy the Amonkhet, copy the Fury with the Amonkhet, and then next turn Persist the Fury again, which is just like crazy. Okay, so I decide just to go for this Leyline Binding this turn, attack for 5 damage, play over the Welding Jar with it, and my hand was like perfect, so I didn't want to discard anything. Opponent goes for Zabaz and Arbound Ravager, which was pretty good for them, but I play my Fury here, they use the Regeneration and put 1 counter on the Ravager. Then I play my Amonkhet and basically scam my Fury to kill the Ravager 2, and the opponent concedes the game, so that was it. In the game 3, in the final match, I kept, as I said in the beginning, I kept a bad hand. This was definitely a bad hand. I basically needed just one enabler, like I needed Kavu or Invasion of Ergamon here to discard my Archon and to get basically easy win, and also had a Force of Figure in hand, so I just needed a green card to like delay my opponent's plan a lot. But I didn't get any of those. I just got a Lance from the top and got the third Persist, which was definitely the worst top deck. In this, my opponent also just kind of had a bad hand. They didn't have I did. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't really as good as it can usually be. Like one Fury and plus Persist would basically win this easily, or similar stuff like Kavu would be very good here if I got it earlier. So of course I still have the force, but I still have the force. I finally find my Kavu. I play it. If I can just like discard the Archon with Kavu, I can get back into the game because I have the Persist, also have the Force, but I didn't also didn't find the second green spell still. So my opponent plays the Ravager and I concede the game. It was over after this. So yeah, so lost this game definitely, but my opponent just didn't have that much pressure early. If I just went for the normal hand, let's say, I would definitely be able to win this. I mean, probably. But yeah, this is it. So very, very close to trophying in this league. And I think very much liking this list, and I think I'm happy with all the choices. I cut the Brotherhood's End from the sideboard, as I said. I don't think it's really needed. I just felt like I have so many solutions with Binding, with Fury, like Scamming Fury, Persist, Amonet, also Archon, and I have six of these spells that are very good against both Hammer and Scales. So. I don't think it's necessary, and also can have a very good clock with Kavu, Scion, blocking their creatures and stuff. So that is it. I feel like I will repeat it once again. I feel like this is extremely powerful deck with a high potential, and uh, that is it for today. I will definitely play this in the future a lot and make more videos of this one. Hopefully, do a trophy next time I play it and do another video of it. And but this is it for today. Hope you like the gameplay. Hope you like the list. If you want to help the channel, click like, click subscribe, comment on the videos, and that's it. Goodbye.